Okay, I've been given the thumbs up, so we can get started whenever you get ready, and we'll watch to see if the other ones sign on.
All right, good. Good morning. I'm Pamela Manners, Chair of the Commission on School Accreditation. The special called meeting of the Commission on School Accreditation is being held today, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, at 8:30 a.m. via teleconference. The public is available to attend from the Senator Gray Terrace Boardroom at 359 Northwest Street in Jackson, Mississippi, or via the MDE YouTube channel. An audio recording is being made of this meeting, and minutes of this meeting will be recorded. As I call the names of the commission members, please state the location of your presence for this meeting. Dr. Kelly Barfield. Present, New York City. Anthony Bryant.
Present, Tupelo, Mississippi.
Dr. Carla Evers.
Present, Gulfport, Mississippi.
Reginald Goen.
Present, Stanford, Mississippi.
Patrice Guilfoyle is absent. Jeremy Ham. Tony Kirsch. President, Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm Pam Manners, and I'm in Biloxi. Aisha Maxwell.
Present, Horn Lake, Mississippi.
Tosiki Pettis. Dr. Scott Ryan.
Present, Brandon, Mississippi.
Thank you. Brad Stevens.
Present, Amory, Mississippi.
Dr. Sarah Wilborn.
Present, Ellisville, Mississippi.
Thank you. And Ingrid Williams.
Present, Clinton, Mississippi.
Thank you. A quorum of the commission is present for the purpose of conducting this meeting. This meeting is called to order at 8:34 a.m. Commission members, you have received a copy of the agenda. Please note this is a special called meeting, and therefore the only business that can be transacted is that which has been specified in the call of this meeting. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. And please identify yourself for the record as you make the motion. May I have a motion? Chair will move. I heard Dr. Barfield. May I have a second? Chair Wilborn, second. Thank you, Dr. Wilborn. Is there any discussion? If not, then all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. We're on to item 3 now. It's an information item. Consideration of request of the State Board of Education to begin the Administrative Procedures Act process to establish State Board Policy Chapter 36, Rule 36.7, Early Graduation Policy. And Ms. Wendy Clemens will present this item. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Malone, Chairwoman Manners, as well as the members of the commission. Come to you this morning with a proposal. This is a new policy, Rule 36.7, Early Graduation Policy. Very similar to the policy around credit recovery. This policy would not necessarily require districts to graduate students early as defined by the policy. But if in fact they do, then we would like them, of course, to have a district policy that governs that process. And some things for consideration would be under number 1 of the policy. And there are 6 considerations that we've included. And when we talk about early graduation here in this policy, keep in mind it is early graduation is defined for this policy as successful completion of all existing standards required by both state and respective district prior to completing 8 semesters of high school work from the start of grade 9. So that's your true graduating class, your true senior. So some things that we would like for districts to consider in their district policies is to understand and promote the idea of graduating early from high school. as a way to better tailor educational systems to students' needs. And the motivation behind this, behind allowing early graduation from high school should be based on that. We also want the districts to consider in their language that students are prepared to enter the workforce or begin college when they are 17 years old, but making sure they understand what preparedness after that looks like and to ensure that they are in fact prepared. LEA shall establish an application process that articulates the student's post-secondary plan and is placed in the student's cumulative folder, ensuring that when that child graduates early, that they do in fact have a plan for post-secondary work. And then the completed application shall require parental or guardian consent for students under the age of 18. On number 3, it talks a little bit about the application to graduate early shall be approved by the school counselor and the local high school principal, ensuring that they are aware that the student will graduate prior to their cohort. And then number 5 talks about the application. If the application to graduate is more than one semester early, a student shall submit prior to the end of the first semester of the student's junior year, and the students applying for this option shall have completed at least one of the following. And this has to do with FAFSA, ACT subscores that may be needed in order for students to enter into gateway classes at a community college or IHL, a credential that could be used to possibly gain employment or assist them if they go into a post-secondary CTE program, earn at least 9 hours of academic dual credit, including Comp 1 and college algebra, pass, of course, all of their end-of-course assessments needed to graduate, and then possibly, and again, it's one of these, completed a 1 Carnegie unit credit-bearing work-based learning class, or similarly, a 140-hour work-based learning experience in industry that would provide sustainable employment leading to a family-sustaining wage. You know, having an opportunity for these students to have a bridge to a career or a bridge to a post-secondary opportunity as opposed to you just graduate. And then the 6th thing is the student's application may be terminated by the school, local school, and or district at any time due to academic, behavioral, or attendance issues. And then the last thing we address here, it's very important because we realize that in times past, districts have done this in a different way, but early graduates should be reported to MSIS upon exit using an appropriate withdrawal code, and we put the withdrawal code in there. Some of you in here may be familiar with the C1, which is when a child graduates. That's how you label them in MSIS, legacy MSIS. But we really want to make sure that our districts are coding those students correctly. If coded correctly, if they graduate early and they meet all the requirements required by their fellow students, that is not a graduation rate ding for the school and the district. And so I think that there has been some thoughts out there, well, we'll code it this way because we don't want that to not count toward our graduation rate. A child who meets all the criteria and graduates, be it the semester before their, graduation date or the end of their junior year, if coded correctly in MSIS, that is not a graduation rate ding. So we wanted to put that in there as well. And the last thing I want to say, and then I'll entertain any questions you have, the idea behind this is that for a traditional diploma, we have 24 credits, and some students can earn credits in the 7th and 8th grade, depending on what school district they attend. And so we understand that the students may be able to get to that 24 credits by the end of their junior year. We understand that. I would argue if they easily get to that 24 credits, then they maybe should be utilizing the CTE endorsement and getting 26 credits. But what we do want to see is we want to see that senior year used to help students transition to whatever their next step is. And it doesn't matter what that next step is. If it's going to work, then it's about going to work on time, being consistent, those types of things. If it's going on to a trade school, helping them maybe have some experience in that trade to ensure that that's something that they are truly interested in and that they know enough about it and their aptitude towards it to see if it might be successful. And then college, of course, you know, kids can use that whole senior year once they decide kind of what they think they want to be when they grow up, to obtain some of those core, or what we call entry-level courses in a post-secondary institution. So that is why, that is our theory behind this policy. So at this time, I'll entertain any questions.
Commission members, does anyone have any comments or questions for Ms. Clemens? All right, then, if not, we will move on to item 4, which is an action item, the approval to submit the request to the State Board of Education to begin the Administrative Procedures Act process to establish State Board Policy, Chapter 36, Rule 36.7, Early Graduation Policy. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to submit the request to the State Board of Education to begin the Administrative Procedures Act process to establish State Board Policy, Chapter 36, Rule 36.7, Early Graduation Policy. And as you make the motion, please identify yourself for the record. May I have a motion, please?
Anthony Bryan. Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
Carla Evans,
All right, Dr. Evers, second. Is there any discussion before we vote? If not, then all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, the motion carries.
Ms.
We're on
Manners,
now to item-
if you will, before you
Yes.
move on to the next item, I believe we've had at least one more person that has signed on after roll call. Mr. Pettis, could you please state your location? Mr. Pettis, are you still there? I saw him. All right, what about Mr. Ham? Did you sign on?
Yes, I'm here in Meridian, Mississippi.
Meridian. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are on now item 5, which is an information item, consideration of the request to revise the Mississippi Admin Code 7-24, Mississippi Public School Accountability Standards 2024. Specifically, the business rules of the Mississippi Statewide Accountability System, Section 4, participation rate, Section 6, growth, Section 9, acceleration, Section 10, banking scores, end of course, subject area assessments taken before 10th grade, Section 16, students with disabilities, Section 18, invalid test scores, Section 22, schools without tested subjects or grades, Section 23, state and other special schools, Section 25, college and career readiness indicators, Section 26, senior snapshot, and Section 27, other. And Mr. Alan Burrow will present this item. Good morning, Mr. Burrow.
Good morning. Okay, I will walk through these changes that are in your backup material. This will follow the prior action from the commission that was to change certain rules of the accountability system and submit those to the U.S. Department of Education through our consolidated state plan. So that these will, for the most part, follow those changes that were reflected in that plan as we operationalize these changes through these accreditation standards. There's one other update that will be included in these changes regarding the transition from students, SCD students from an ungraded status to a graded status in our new student information system. So on the first page, we'll reflect some cleaning up of language from some prior legacy accountability measures. And you'll notice that the top of the page reflects an effective date of 25-26 school year. So these changes will go into effect the next academic year. And you can scroll down. And then the new language will just show the inclusion of new indicators, specifically the readiness indicator in high schools. So the first section with some changes would be section 4 for participation rates. Here we're just cleaning up language regarding the inclusion of the U.S. history assessment for SCD students in section 4.5. See in section 6, growth, again, cleaning up language regarding U.S. history. And section 6.8 is a clarification that we use, a student that has a prior year's assessment is used for growth calculations. There was some confusion about whether or not that was a specific grade level, but we use any prior year comparable assessment to measure growth, as long as it's in the prior year. Okay, in section 9, this is going to be one of the measures that is affected by the new readiness indicator for accountability in high schools. So we've updated the name of the acceleration will, for most part, remain the same in the new measures, but it will become part of the readiness indicator. To 9.2.3 is a clarification that AP assessments must be directly reported by the College Board to be included in accountability measures. There's been some confusion around that. And then 9.4, one of the changes was the removal of some additional weighting for in the participation measure of acceleration. The participation measure for acceleration going forward will accurately reflect the percentage of students in 11th or 12th grade that participate in accelerated courses. And then we retain the additional weighting for multiple accelerated courses or assessments in the performance measure, which is in 9.5, 9.6. Just clarifying language in 9.5, not a change to current practices, just some recommendations from feedback that we've received. 9.12, again, is related to SCD students being ungraded and just updating that language for the new student information system. Section 10, we are clearing up language and removing the U.S. history measure. And that's in banking scores. 16, again, ungraded students, just removing that language. 18, again, ungraded students. Uh, 22.1.3 is some outdated language that does not apply any longer, so we're just removing that. And section 23.1.3 is a reference to when we gather data for certain high school indicators for students that are in Mississippi School for Math and Science or the Mississippi School of the Arts, that those indicators are sent back to their home school for inclusion and accountability. So we're just updating that accelerated indicator that's now part of the readiness indicator. That information will be sent back to the home school. And then Section 25 updates the College and Career Readiness Indicator as part of the new readiness indicator. And this is the assessment measure, which looks at student performance on either the ACT, ACT work keys, SAT, or the ASVAB. And then in section 26, this is going to be the new achievement measure for the readiness indicator, which considers the completion status of students separate from the graduation rate, but includes different pathways of completion, and also includes the new, relatively new diploma endorsements, which have not been included in accountability previously. And this just operationalizes that process and how we award credit for that indicator. And then I think we just updated the code numbers. Well, Senior Snapshot, we made some clarifications. We also updated the language to refer to the readiness indicator. We clarified that each end-of-course assessment and the ACT are included in participation, and that's what we primarily use Senior Snapshot for. One update for Senior Snapshot, and this directly relates to the new readiness indicator and how we use Senior Snapshot, but Senior Snapshot includes students with a minimum enrollment period. It looks at students that are enrolled in month 1 of the 10th grade and with continuous enrollment in a state public school, Mississippi public school, until either they finish their senior year, month 9 of their senior year, or if they complete early. And complete early indicates an early graduation. This has effectually left out any students that may have dropped out during that time period. So this would then add in those students if they drop out after. Most students typically take their required assessments through the 11th grade. So this looks at students that are entered as a dropout status either in month 9 of the 11th grade or any time after that through the 12th grade would now be included in the Senior Snapshot. And that's just so that we capture those students in the new readiness indicator. Are there any questions about all of those changes?
Commission members, any questions, any comments? All right. If not, then we will move on to item 6, which is the action item. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to submit the request to the State Board of Education to begin the Administrative Procedures Act process to revise Mississippi Administrative Code 7-24, Mississippi Public School Accountability Standards 2024, specifically the business rules of the Mississippi Statewide Accountability System, Section 4, Participation Rate, Section 6, Growth, Section 9, Acceleration, Section 10, Banking Scores, End of Course, Subject Area Assessments taken before 10th grade, Section 16, Students with Disabilities, Section 18, Invalid Test Scores, Section 22, Schools without tested subjects for grades, Section 23, State and other special schools, Section 25, College and Career Readiness Indicators, Section 26, Senior Snapshot, and Section 27, Other. And as you make the motion, please identify yourself for the record. May I have a motion, please?
So moved, Scott Rhines.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ryan. May I have a second, please?
That's Aisha Maxwell.
All right, I heard Aisha Maxwell. And before we vote, is there any discussion? If not, then at this time, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, none. The motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to item 7, which is an information item. Consideration of the request of the State Board of Education to eliminate the administration of and graduation requirements for the U.S. history and end-of-course assessment, beginning with the 2025-26 school year. Wendy Clemens and Alan Burrow will present this information.
Good morning. Again, it is our desire to propose to the State Board of Education and, of course, send out for the Public Comments Act the removal and the elimination of the administration of the U.S. history test. And so as a result of that, there are two policies in place, 36.4 and then 36.5. One of them addresses assessment requirements for graduation and the other graduation requirements. So on 36.4, you can see that in number 1, we have just deleted, if you will, information concerning the 4 subject area test assessments, which many of us know that subject area test is old language anyway, but kind of took that out to refer to 3 assessments. If you scroll down, you'll see that we have revised item number 2. Again, thinking in terms of the fact that we would have only 3 courses that are in the concordance table rather than the 4 courses. Courses and assessments, which is that U.S. history. We have also done edits to number 3. Each of these items required edits to remove a mention of the U.S. history test or to give directions on what it would look like for students when we eliminate the administration of the test during the 25-26 school year. So, for example, in number 3 here, you can see that it talks about the test no longer being administered to students. So students who were enrolled as graduating seniors in 24-25 school year and continue to be enrolled in 25-26 school year and or thereafter will not be required to retake the assessment because there will not be access to the administration of that assessment. Let's see, if you scroll on down, again, number 6, we changed some language there addressing the concordance table. Also, number 7, we have to address what many of us call the composite score option in Appendix A5, where a student, one of the options that they have available in lieu of is that they can calculate and get an average of all 4 end of course assessment scores, and if they make a certain score, then that counts towards them being having passed the test. With the elimination of that 4th score, which is the U.S. history score, that composite score option will no longer be in play. Okay, that occurred during the we had a lot of that during COVID. When we held harmless students, and some students did not have 4 scores, they only had 3, or sometimes they only had 2 scores, and therefore that wasn't applicable to them. And so what will happen with that option is it will eventually phase out and not be applicable at all to anyone. Okay, so then in 36.5, again, that's graduation requirements. Again, we've gone in and eliminated language related to either the 4 assessments or specifically U.S. history. We did make a minor change on number 2 where we removed the 1 after biology, simply because it's as of 2018, it's really just biology. It's not biology 1. And then if you go down to number 4, which is a bulk of U.S. history, you'll see we changed some language there. It says it will no longer be administered, where to make reference. And then, of course, we deleted a lot of information concerning the U.S. history test. So the next section, so that's the 2 policies that have required revision due to the request to stop administering the U.S. history exam. We also had to make some changes, obviously, in the Mississippi Public School Accountability Standards, beginning in Appendix A5, which many of you know, that's the in lieu of passing an end-of-course assessment. We added some language here that talks about social studies. Under the social studies column, it says prior to the 25-26 school year. So any student that took the assessment prior to us not administering it in 25-26, this is still an option for them. And then we reduced this to 4 on the concordance table because of, again, the U.S. history exam will not be a part of that any longer. And then we had to also, on the composite score, even though we know that for 25-26 and beyond, the composite score option is going to go away. However, it's not, it may still be applicable for some students who are still in our schools and in our classrooms. And so we did not remove it yet completely, but we did put a note there that beginning school year 25-26, U.S. history end-of-course assessments will no longer be administered. Students that do not have scores on all 4 end-of-course assessments are ineligible to use this option. And once we feel like every student who may have scores to utilize this option are exhausted, then this will be removed from the standards as well. And then the only other changes, quite honestly, that we made were, and I'm not going to go through every one of them, but you'll notice here, Appendix A6, 7, 8, and 9, that's the traditional diploma option, as well as CTE, academic, and distinguished academic. There was a reference in subscript 4 that we needed to remove. That's related to social studies, and it did make reference to the end-of-course assessment. There's also a reference to 4 assessments in each of those appendices, so we had to go in and make that 3. And then the only other change that we had to make in the accountability standards was down in the glossary. We did have to delete,
Appendix F.
I'm sorry?
Appendix F.
Oh, Appendix, I'm sorry, Appendix F. That's not my world, I apologize.
That's okay. There was just some references to the U.S. history in
Yeah.
Appendix F that we had to
Are
remove.
you going to scroll to F? Okay.
Yeah, hang on. And I think it's where they just used U.S. history as an example on something. So we just inserted another test to use it in the example.
Yeah, Appendix F is requirements of the Mississippi statewide assessment system. So what they did there was there were several, like, for example, and then it used the U.S. history exam as the example of one of the 4 tests. Anywhere that U.S. history was the example, it was removed, and I believe biology was placed there in its place. And then in the glossary, of course, we had to remove a couple of things concerning that the end-of-course assessment. But we also found a few other, we're constantly looking in the glossary to keep it updated, and we found a couple of other things that were outdated. And one of the examples is we call our standards the college and career readiness standards now, and I think we still had reference to frameworks. So just real small edits there in the glossary. But that is it on this item. So I or Dr. Malone or Alan will be glad to take any questions that you have.
Commission members, any questions, any comments or discussion?
Hey, this is Scott. Just to clear up, U.S. history, is it for this school year, going away this school year, or is it for the next school year?
It will be, we will stop administering it, Scott, the 25-26 school year. So it will be administered this year.
Okay, so everything's normal for this school year?
Everything is normal for this school year. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, questions? All right, then if not, we will move on to item 8, which is the action item. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to submit the request to the State Board of Education to eliminate the administration of and graduation requirements for the U.S. History End of Course assessment, beginning with the 2025-26 school year, and begin the Administrative Procedures Act process for the following. A, to revise State Board Policy Chapter 36, Rule 36.4, assessments required for graduation. B, to revise State Board Policy Chapter 36, Rule 36.5, additional assessment options for meeting end of course EOC assessment requirements. And C, to revise the Mississippi Public School Accountability Standards 2024 specifically, appendices A-5 through A-9 and F, and the glossary. At this time, I'll entertain the motion. Please identify yourself for the record as you make the motion. May I have a motion, please?
Anthony Bryant, motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. May I have a second?
Sarah Wilborn, second.
Thank you, Dr. Wilborn. Is there any discussion before we vote? No? Then at this time, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries.
Ms. Manners,
Right,
before you adjourn, Mr. Pettis is on, he let us know in the chat that he's in Tunica. So we will let the records reflect that he did join and is present from Tunica.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we are now on item 9, which is adjournment. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Again, please identify yourself for the record. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Carl Lambert, so moved.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
Second, Scott Ryan.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ryan. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, thank you. We stand adjourned at 9:09 a.m. Thank you all very much, and if you are going into spring break, have a great one, and enjoy your weekend this weekend. Happy Easter, and see you next time.